This is the family crest of Great Britain's 10th senior baronet, Sir Newland D'Arcy Wyvill. What is your name, please?
My name is Newland D'Arcy Wyvill.
My name is Newland D'Arcy Wyvill.
My name is Newland D'Arcy Wyvill.
Only one of these gentlemen is the real Sir Newland D'Arcy Wyvill. The other two are imposters and will try to fool this panel. Tom Poston, Peggy Cass, sitting in tonight for Orson Bean, Gene Rayburn, and Kitty Carlisle. On To Tell the Truth with your host, Bob Collier.
Thank you very much. Thank you, and welcome once again to Tell the Truth. Good evening, panel.
Good evening, Bob.
Gene, welcome back to you.
Yeah, it's great to be back. I love this show.
I understand that on August 10th, I believe it is, you're opening in Highland Park, Illinois, in Gypsy, aren't you?
That's right. The only other musical I've ever done is Bye Bye Birdie, and I'm looking forward to doing this with Margaret Whiting.
That'll be fun for you. We're brought to you this evening by Winston Filter Cigarettes. Now, panel, if you'll open up that envelope, you'll find some stories in there, and you can follow along. Your copy of the first one with me, the one that's marked number 1. I, Newland D'Arcy Wyvill, am the only American house painter and paper hanger entitled to a seat in the British House of Lords. Debrett's Peerage, which is the official book on British nobility, lists me as Sir Newland D'Arcy Wyvill, 17th Baronet, Constable of Burton-on-Trent. Despite the fact that my family has been in America for some 200 years, I am Britain's 10th senior baronet. The editors of Debrett's Peerage said that finding me ended a search which they began in 1774. Signed, Sir Newland D'Arcy Wyvill. Panel, these three gentlemen all claim to be Newland D'Arcy Wyvill. We'll start the questioning with Peggy Cass. Peggy?
Thank you, Bud. Number 3, sir, did you ever sit in your seat in the House of Lords?
Never.
No. Number 1, this is a pretty grand name, Newland D'Arcy Wyvill. Is that what your mother called you?
My mother often called me brother.
Oh, but I mean...
What is that?
It was more than one.
Number 2, what I mean is, when they christened you, did they christen you Newland D'Arcy?
Yes, well, the D'Arcy isn't used too much.
I see. Number 3, would you please tell me why Durantz has been looking for you since 1774?
Well, it's a rather complicated lineage, I guess, and they really had difficulty.
Oh, but number 1, you mean that seat's been empty since 1774, up there in the House of Lords?
Beg pardon?
Has that seat in the House of Lords been empty since 1774?
No. Somebody's been sitting in it. Gene Rayburn.
Number 2, where do you live now?
Asbury Park, New Jersey.
I don't understand that.
Yeah. Listen, I'd like to resign from the whole thing and go back to my own show. Number 3, the constable part of your name, according to what it says here, you're Constable of Burton. Does that mean like you're a sheriff?
In the nature of.
Yes. Have you ever exercised that office? Have you arrested? No. Yeah.
No.
Number 1, what do the little scriggly lines on your coat of arms mean?
Number 1?
Number 1.
I really do not know.
You do not know?
No. Kitty Carlisle.
Number 2, there's a discrepancy here which I don't quite understand. It says your family's been here for 200 years, and yet that you're an American house painter, and they just found you. Were they really looking all this time just for you?
Well, I guess they were. The first one to come over was lost at sea, and the whole family was lost as far as they were concerned.
I see. Number 1, who was the one that finally told you about your title?
There's an Englishman by the name of Peter Reed. He's used it as a hobby.
I see.
Tom Poston.
Thank you. I'd like to ask number 3 where you're from.
Devon, Connecticut.
Devon, Connecticut. You're from New Jersey. Where are you from, number one?
I'm from Winchester, Virginia.
From Virginia. Tell me, number one, did you know about this title?
I knew of it all my life, yeah.
Is that so? You didn't get in touch with them, eh?
No.
Thank you. Number three, are you going to take it? Are you going to occupy your seat?
No, I'm not. I don't want to renounce my American citizenship.
You would have to do that. Would you, number two, would you have to renounce your American citizenship?
Yes.
Are you going to take it?
You only get $24 a year for sitting in the House of Lords.
Well, that's all the time we have. It is time for you now to vote. No further questions. Just mark your ballots without consultation and without change, of course, and select number 1, number 2, or number 3. The team of challengers will receive $250 for every incorrect vote. All ballots marked? Well, swiftly. All right. Tom, for whom did you vote?
I voted for number 1, Bud. I had to go by the answers because, although I read something about it, it was my previous understanding that Mr. Sir, was from West Virginia, so I couldn't go by anything that they said. But I guess number 1.
Peggy Cass.
Well, I voted for number 3 because he's got a red handkerchief in his pocket, and it looks sort of lord-like and official and everything.
Gene Rayburn, which one do you think it is?
Well, I voted for number 1 because he could wallpaper my bedroom any day.
Kitty.
I voted for number 1 because I believe that some very distinguished Britishers did settle in Virginia, and I think his forebears were among them.
Very well, that breaks it down as 3 for number 1, 1 for number 3. Okay, let's find out now which one of these 3 gentlemen, in truth, is Newland D'Arcy Wyvill. Will the real Sir Newland D'Arcy Wyvill please stand up? Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. You're the only one that wasn't asked whether you plan to claim this title, do you or not?
I do not.
You do not. Same way. Number 2, what is your real name and what do you really do?
My name is Maurice Porter. I'm with Lieber, Katz, and Paccioni, and I'm an art director.
And number 3, what is your real name and what do you do, sir?
My name is John Agnew, and I'm in the insurance business with John Van Bale Agency.
Well, in checking the score, we find that there was 1 incorrect vote, and that's worth $250. Gentlemen, we thank you very much for sharing this most entertaining story with us. Hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. Good night, and God bless you. All right, panel, take a minute while we look at this brief film. The next team of challengers.
What is your name, please?
My name is Jean Sprain Wilson.
My name is Jean Sprain Wilson.
My name is Jean Sprain Wilson.
Follow along again, if you will, please, panel. I, Jean Sprain Wilson, am the author of a recently published book called All About Tipping. My book tells how much to tip and still get good service, avoid embarrassment, and at the same time not waste money. I cover not only tipping the waiter, the taxi driver, and the porter, but also how to tip in gambling casinos, dude ranches, aboard cruise ships, and even in nudist colonies. I also answer such questions as, should a teenager tip as much as a grown-up? And how can one avoid over-tipping without under-tipping? The book also covers tipping customs in over 100 countries. Signed, Jean Sprain Wilson. Panel, these 3 ladies all claim to be Jean Sprain Wilson. We'll start the cross-examination with Kitty Carlisle. Kitty.
Thank you, Bud. You do a great service, and that's absolutely wonderful. But I'd like to ask number 3, whom do you tip in a nudist colony, and where do they put it?
That's a good question. I'm sorry, I never did go to one, but you sign at the end with a pencil they give you as you leave. On a check.
Oh, not on somebody's back. Like autographs, you know.
Where do they keep the pencil? Oh, never mind.
Number two, now that the taxi fare has gone up, what do you consider appropriate for a tip under $1?
Under $1?
Yeah.
Well, it depends on how far under $1, I'd say.
Well, I mean like 90 cents or 85. What do you tip?
You mean your fare?
Your fare is under $1. What do you tip?
Oh, well, if your tip was 90 cents or 85, I'd say 20-cent tip
Thank you.
would be nice.
Number one, is there any country in the world that doesn't allow tipping?
Yes, there's one paradise, and that's Tahiti.
Tom Poston.
Well, I'll ask number two. Are there any other countries where it's not customary, tipping?
I would say that when you say not customary, no, none that it's not customary. It's not desired in some places,
Where
they
would you
say.
say? Where?
Well, in the Iron Curtain countries, it is not encouraged, and yet they'd rather like to have it.
I suppose so. Number three, are there any countries where tipping is absolutely forbidden?
Well, again, it's not forbidden, no. No.
Number one, what do you do when your tip is, you think it's all right, but the waiter gives it back with a sneer?
I take it, and I'm grateful.
Yeah. Have you ever had anybody refuse your tip, number one, please?
No, I haven't.
Peggy Cass.
Number three, if you go out to dinner, say two people go out to dinner and the check is, say, $13, what percentage tip do you think should go on the bill?
If it were for food, 15%.
Say food and maybe a little martini, you know.
Really?
15%.
15%. Well, thank you. But number two, what do waiters in New York expect on a check like that?
I'd say that would be about what they would like to receive.
Number one, if you're at a very grand restaurant where they have plenty of captains and you tip the waiter, do you also have to tip all those battalions as you go toward the door on your way out?
No, you can just tip the captain 5%.
5% and 15% to the waiter?
No, 10% to the waiter.
Well, number three, if you win a lot of money at a gambling casino, are you supposed to tip the croupier? Not that it's ever happened to me.
This is a matter of discretion. You usually give something to the croupier.
Well, say...
Gene Rayburn.
Thank you. Number one, when you go to a restaurant and you tip a waiter 10% after having a big sumptuous meal, and he looks at the money and then he gives you a belt in the mouth, what do you do? I mean,
Why? I don't give him 10%.
Oh, I thought you said to one of Peggy's questions that you give 10% to the waiter and 5% to the captain.
Well, I give 15% altogether, but 5 of it goes to the captain.
I see. So on a $20 check, 5% of that would be $1 to the captain and $3 to the waiter. Gee, I'm lousy on arithmetic. Yeah. Number two, if you have...
Yes, you are.
Number two, if your service is bad in a restaurant...
It's time for you now to mark your ballot, so please mark them at once, if you will, without change, without any consultation between you. Simply vote for number 1, number 2, or number 3. All ballots marked? Okay. Tom, for whom did you vote this time?
I voted for number 1. If you remember, she did not stumble over her name at all when she spoke up, and she gave good answers, I thought, to the questions.
Peggy.
Well, they all strike me as being 3 pretty frugal girls. In New York, you're supposed to give 20%.
Oh, no.
You are so. And if you gave a cab driver 85 cents, you gave him 15-cent tip. Boy, you might get 15. They said
20, she said, number 2.
No, she did not. Well, anyway, I voted for number 1.
Gene Rayburn, your choice.
Well, listen, I have to go along with number 1 because she does look like a girl with a lot of courage for a low tipper.
Kitty.
Well, I I voted for number 2 because I agreed with her answers. I think that 15% of the waiter is customary, and then you have to give the captain something else. And as far as the cab drivers are concerned, I won't say what I think because I like them all very much. But I think that was a good answer.
Very well, there we have it. Only slightly split again. 3 for number 1, 1 for number 2 this time. Let's find out how it stacks up as we learn now which one of these ladies, in truth, is Jean Sprain Wilson. Will the real Jean Sprain Wilson please stand up?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
One thing they do learn is how to milk the suspense, down to the last drop. Number 2, what is your real name and what do you really do?
My name is Ronnie Schwartz, and I'm with Patchogue Plymouth Company. We make synthetic carpet backings.
Thank you. And number 3, what is your real name and what do you do?
My name is June Nordahl, and I'm a supper club singer.
Well, in checking the score, we find the same situation as in the first round. There was 1 incorrect vote. That's worth $250. Divvy it up and spend it in your bargain ways. You'll find it goes a long ways. And we thank you, ladies, for being with us. Good night, and God bless you. And now a word about Anison. Now we bring you our 3rd team of challengers.
What is your name, please?
My name is Dick Durantz.
My name is Dick Durantz.
My name is Dick Durantz.
Follow along again, will you, panel? I, Dick Durantz, along with some members of my college canoe club, last year paddled the length of Europe's most romantic river, the Danube. Our trip took us through 7 countries, 5 of them behind the Iron Curtain. We traveled the Danube from its source in Germany's Black Forest, eastward through Vienna, Austria, along the border of Czechoslovakia to Budapest, Hungary, then south to Belgrade, Yugoslavia. We followed the river as it forms the boundary between Bulgaria and Romania, and out through the broad delta into the Black Sea. Our trip took us 3 months. We paddled more than 1,600 miles. Our trip is covered in a 46-page story in the current issue of the National Geographic magazine. Signed, Dick Durantz. And so we bring you 3 gentlemen, each of whom claims to be Dick Durantz. But, of course, only one is. We'll start with the only Gene Rayburn. Gene?
Thank you, Bud. Gee, this sounds like it must have been a lot of fun and a great adventure. Number 3, what college club was this?
Dartmouth.
Dartmouth. Number 2, did you encounter any trouble anywhere along the route?
No trouble at all.
And number 1, what was the friendliest people that you encountered on the trip?
Hungary.
Hungary. And did you have a great deal of contact, number 1, with the people in the various countries?
Yes, in most of them.
Mm-hmm. Number 2, did you learn to speak any foreign words or phrases?
As we went along, yes.
Can you say one?
Most of them.
You've forgotten most of them?
Forgotten most of them.
I'm sorry to hear that, number 2. There. Number 3, can you say a foreign word?
We won't allow you to say that on this, or ask that on this show. It's one of the rules of the game. They may not speak in foreign language.
All right. Don't speak in foreign languages, fellas. I want to hear good old American.
Kitty Carlisle.
Number 3, what port did you debouch in the Black Sea?
St. George.
St. George? Is that what it's called?
Yes, where we entered the Black Sea.
I see. When you came out of the Black Sea. Number 2, how many were you on the trip?
There were 9 of us.
Number 1, did you camp on the shores at night of the various countries?
Most of the time.
And you found the natives very happy and pleasant?
More than that, yeah.
Really?
They loved to see us.
I see. Number 3, where did you provision your boat?
On the shores.
As you went along?
Yes.
Number 2, how heavy was the boat?
The boat weighs about 400 pounds.
And there were 9 of you as well?
No.
How many were there of you?
We had 4 boats. There were 2 of us in 3 boats, and 3 of us in the third boat, in the fourth boat.
Are you from Dartmouth, too?
Yes, I am.
Uh-huh. Number one, what year were you in when you did this?
I was a junior.
Tom Poston.
I'd like to ask number one what he's going to do this year. What are you going to do this year?
Take pictures.
Where?
I'm working for National Geographic.
What? Oh, that's a good magazine to work for after a trip like that, isn't it? Number two, what are you going to do this summer?
I'm going to take pictures.
Now, come on, number two. You're not fooling. This isn't one of those things where the 3 of you were part of the 9. Number two, what did you eat when you were over there?
Mostly food that we got along the way.
Food when you were hungry, yeah. That you got along the way. Number 3, did you ever stop over, make any long stops of any kind?
Yes, we had a few 5-day stops.
What did you do when you were on those 5-day...
We visited and so on.
Peggy Cass.
Thank you. Number one, as you went from country to country, how did you get their currency? Did you start off with their currency?
Yes, we bought coupons before we left this country.
Coupons. Oh, well, heavens. Number 2, do they have little border controls along the river so that you go... I mean, how did you go through customs from one country to the other?
Yes, they have customs right on the river. The patrol boats come out and get you.
Get you? Number 3, did you bring presents for the people?
No, we didn't have that much money.
Oh, number 1, did they give you presents?
Yes, in a couple of cities.
Oh, aren't you sorry you didn't bring them presents? They did. And number 2, how did you know what food to order, say, if you were in Romania? What did you ask for?
Well, one of us parents were born in Romania, came to this country during the Second World War.
And that's all the time we have. Fascinating story. Would like to have more time to pursue it, but we can't. Mark your ballots, if you will, now. That there is time for. Vote without consultation and without change for number 1, or for number 2, or for number 3. All ballots marked, I see. Very well, Tom. For whom did you vote?
Well, Bud, I voted for number 1. I thought that he had a real bright, clear look in his eye. And I'll tell you the truth. If I haven't seen number 3 with a football in his hand, I'll be very much surprised. I'm not sure because I don't know this gentleman, but I'm pretty sure he's a football player.
Peggy Cass.
Well, I voted for number 1. He seemed, when he said that the people over there really like those boys, everything that I've ever read about people behind the Iron Curtain, like if they go to Moscow, the natives are very interested. I mean, that's not, and he gave me that impression, so I think he's the one.
Gene.
So do I. Number 1, and I'll tell you why, friends. Whoops. I haven't been on the show in a long time. I don't know whether it's like. Observe closely. Neither number 3 nor number 2 have that leathery look you get from sitting in a canoe and paddling all down the Danube River. But number 1 has. And he's the one, or...
Kitty.
I voted for number 2. I think number 2 had the proper answers, and I like his color.
Oh.
And I like the way he talked about the food that he ate and the people, and so I'm for number 2.
Very well, there it is again. You're following a pattern tonight, panel. 3 for number 1 each time. And this time, again, 1 for number 2, none for number 3. Let's find out how that stacks up as we learn now which one of these gentlemen, in truth, is Dick Durantz. Will the real Dick Durantz please stand up? Well, you're bright tonight, panel. Not perfect, but bright. Thank you very much. Number 2, what is your real name and what do you really do?
My name is Charles Moulton, and I'm a disc jockey in a New York discotheque called Le Club.
And number 3, what is your real name and what do you really do?
My name is Gary Wood, and I'm a quarterback for the New York Giants.
Yes, sir.
I have voted on this show for Erich Barnes when he was a liar. I voted for Andy Robustelli on this show when he was a liar, and I wasn't going to do it again with...
Well, we checked the score to find there was one incorrect vote, and that's worth a solid $250. Thank you, gentlemen, very much for being with us. Good night, and God bless you. Right now, let's take time out for a brief film. Back in a minute. Good night for Winston, and don't forget to tell the truth. Good night, everybody.
To Tell the Truth is a Mark Goodson, Bill Codman production. To Tell the Truth has been brought to you by Temple Filter Cigarettes. This is Johnny Olson speaking. The program was pre-recorded.